for a couple more seconds. Just wanted to say good evening to you all, and if you were with us on the previous hour, I hope you enjoyed it. I found it very insightful and inspiring, so I hope you did too. And anyone who wasn't able to attend before, welcome, and thanks to everybody for joining us for the third AGM. How many people have we got, or are we expecting?
26 at the moment, David, isn't there?
Anywhere between 26 and 100, 120.
Okay, great. Well, I'll talk about some. Oh, someone wants to come in. Some housekeeping points. If well, I don't think anyone can use your mics. I couldn't, so I had an issue. So I don't think anyone can use your mics at the moment. But as we did in the last meeting, if you'd like to put any questions in the chat, that would be great. And we'll try to get through as many as we can over the next hour. And also, as before, this will be recorded. So if you don't want to be shown on the screen, if you just turn your camera off, that would be great. And yeah, this is also our first virtual AGM, so bear with us if we have any hitches. I'm sure you'll understand that sometimes issues can arise, but everything should be okay. And we are holding the AGM as per our constitution, which is available on our website if you want to go and view it at your leisure. And our quorum requirement is of 4 members or 2/3 of the membership base, or whichever is the lesser. So we are able, with the number of people that we have here, to make decisions as a quorum in this proceeding. So today we are going to have a report from our chair and then our treasurer, and then we'll go to an approval of committee members and some votes. And then we're going to end up with some firming up of dates for our next meetings. So just a point of order, we did ask anybody over email beforehand if anyone wanted to submit any resolutions, but none have come through, so we won't need to go over any during the meeting. So yeah, so right, well, I guess we can move on. And yes, if we can get the chair's report from Ellie. Off you go, Ellie, thank you.
Thank you so much, David. Okay, so I've been the chair of Get Glasgow Moving. I was involved in setting up Get Glasgow Moving in 2016, and I have served as the chairperson for the last 2 years. So I'm going to give you a quick run through of our campaign activities in 2020. And as David said, if you want to ask any questions, just type them in the chat and we can come back to them at the end. So going to rewind to January 2020. Seems like a very long time ago, but that was when we held our Take Back Our Buses petition hand in and a rally at Glasgow City Chambers to put pressure on the council to buy back First Glasgow, which was then up for sale. You may remember First announced they wanted to sell the Glasgow operations in the summer before that. Following the rally, we had a meeting with council leader Susan Aitken, but it appeared that First were no longer selling the company, unfortunately. But worse than that, Susan Aitken at that point, January 2020, just seemed really hell-bent on pursuing this partnership with the private bus companies and wouldn't commit to looking at any of the other powers that were available in the Transport Act. But the rally got a lot of media attention, which was really great for us. And yeah, just helped to force the issue back onto the public agenda. 2 days later, we had our last AGM. So this was the 1st of February 2020. And as I mentioned earlier, we had speeches from Emily Yates from the Association of British Commuters and from Pascal Robinson from Better Buses for Greater Manchester. With the idea, like I said, of building solidarity across the UK and learning from each other's campaign successes. And you can actually watch the presentations on our website. Gavin's going to post the link in the chat because it is really inspiring to hear, especially from, well, Emily's one isn't online, but Pascal's one is very inspiring to hear what they've been doing in Manchester in terms of campaigning tactics. So at the AGM last year, we elected our 2021 Volunteer Management Committee, who you'll meet later on this evening. Well, you've already met David and Susan and quite a few of us, but you'll meet the rest of us later on this evening. And we also launched our new website, which was paid. The design work was paid for with the grant that we managed to secure the year before from the Foundation for Integrated Transport. So you should have all been on the website. Maybe you joined through the website, but the website has been brilliant for us. It's really been fantastic because it has the membership system built into it, so people can actually sign up to become a member on the website. We can list all of the affiliate organisations that we have affiliated so far, and other organisations can join us. So if you are part of a union branch or a community campaign or any other organisation that you think may want to affiliate with us as well, then please do consider that. So at the AGM, we also tried to vote through a few amendments to our constitution, which we weren't able to vote through. It basically dragged on too long. So we had to postpone those and call an EGM on the 21st of February. So at the EGM, we got to debate those amendments. It's a really productive conversation. And then we agreed on quite a few amendments. And specifically, the main thing we wanted to do was, and Gavin's going to paste a link to the Constitution in the chat so you can take a look at it. But we wanted to tighten up the objectives for the campaign, and specifically make clear that we're a region-wide campaign, because we are campaigning for a region-wide public transport network. A public transport network that just works within Glasgow city limits is useless because so many people live in the surrounding areas and need to travel in and out for work and for everything else. So those changes were made to the Constitution. We're not looking to amend the Constitution for a good while because it does require 2/3 of the membership to vote, 2/3 of the people present at the meeting to vote in favour of it. So quite soon after the AGM, we had a committee strategy day. This was all in real life before COVID. This was a really useful day for the new committee members to get to know each other, and also to think about what our key messages for 2020 would be. I'm not going to dwell on these too much, but it's quite useful for us looking back on them, because I think we have managed to stick to quite a lot of what we plan to do despite all the disruption that we've had. The key leverage points that we identified were Glasgow City Council were developing their local transport strategy at the same time as the SPT were developing their regional transport strategy. We also wanted to lobby the Glasgow City Region Cabinet and the 8 council leaders that sit on that, because people don't seem to even know that existed. So we've made a point of going along and attending those meetings and just keeping pressure on that body and letting them know that there are community groups interested and watching what they're talking about. And we were talking about collaboration with the Glasgow Trades Council and the campaign against climate change, which we're going to talk about in a bit more detail, because that ended up being quite a large part of the year, and then intervening in the ScotRail debate. So that was everything that we were planning to do. And then we went to do our first lobby outside on the 6th of March. And what we had been trying to do at that point was literally show up for every single board meeting. I think they have roughly one a month throughout the whole of 2020 with this little banner, catching all of the board members on their way in, just to say that there were people out there that were watching them, that wanted them to take action to sort out the mess the buses were in. So we only managed one of them because COVID kicked off very soon after. The lockdown was announced on the 23rd of March. On the 25th of March, Transport Secretary Michael Matheson announced bailouts of up to 260 million pounds to the private bus companies to keep services running during COVID. So we jumped on that straight away and launched this buyout, don't bailout campaign to make the case that if the private bus companies were dependent on such massive subsidies, then it really is the perfect opportunity to bring them back into public ownership. So we also got quite a lot of good media coverage for that. And on the 1st of April, which marked 2 years until Abellio, who run the ScotRail franchise contract, was due to end. 2 years in 2022, on the 1st of April, we relaunched the Make ScotRail Public campaign. Gavin's going to post the link in the chat to that if you haven't signed the petition. We've been continuing to keep the pressure up on this all year. And we were really inspired to see the Welsh government announce that they were going to take their railways back into public ownership in October last year. And it's really inspiring looking at the Welsh government's plans, because it's all about integrated public transport and about how if all of it is in public ownership, it becomes so much easier to plan and coordinate across different transport modes. So we're keeping the pressure up on Michael Matheson, but unfortunately, he doesn't at the moment look like he is going to follow the Welsh government's example. So we'll just have to keep an eye on what happens this year and try to keep the pressure up as much as possible. So also in April last year, we said goodbye and thank you to our campaigner, Rebecca. I don't know if Becky's on the call because I can't see everybody, but hi, Becky, if you are. We wanted to give you a big thank you. And if you're at the AGM last year, you will have met Rebecca Menzies, who we employed on a one-year contract using the grant that we got from Foundation for Integrated Transport. And Becky was offered a new role at Commonweal. I think still working at Commonweal, and when she left, we were at that point actually on a big fundraising drive to try to secure more money so that we could keep Becky on for a couple of years actually. But because of all the uncertainty caused by COVID, we thought at that point that the management committee would just revert to managing the campaign because everything looked so uncertain. And the committee we all really threw ourselves into it in the first weeks of lockdown. We decided for some mad reason that we were going to meet once a week, and we kept that up for the first 9 weeks. And then we reverted to having meetings every other week for the whole of 2020, which was actually quite a big step change from the year before, because we were only meeting once a month the year before, and our constitution only requires us to meet once every quarter. So we're meeting far more frequently than that, but it's because there's just so much happening, and we really, we can't we can't let the foot off the pedal at the moment because all of these the local transport strategy, the regional transport strategy, it's all in flux. So everything's to play for at the moment. So during, as well as the committee meetings, we wanted to arrange regular meetups for our members as well. Sorry if this is an embarrassing photo. I've got another one there. So this is from our members meeting in May 2020. And Susan is actually going to talk a little bit more in her report about members events for this year, so we can get your feedback on that. In June, what we started to realise was that despite these massive bailouts that all those companies had got, they had started after a couple of months after they'd received the bailouts, they started to cut routes. So we started to get reports of lots of routes disappearing or being threatened. So the X1, the X2, the 32, the 208, you may know of others. If you do know of others, then please let us know. But we thought that this is outrageous, because not only have these bus companies had all this money, but they're still cutting routes. So we relaunched the Take Back Our Buses petition, and Gavin is going to share the link in the chat if you haven't already signed it. And we are continuing to keep the pressure up on this issue, because the powers now exist, if not to buy back first, at least to set up our own publicly owned bus company that may be small to start off with, but can start building up and taking over routes and becoming a force to be reckoned with, like Lothian Buses. Then the other really massive activity of 2020 was the campaign in coalition with the Glasgow Trades Council and Campaign Against Climate Change and Divest Strathclyde and the Scotty 3 and the Youth Climate Strike and a few other groups that were involved. So Free Our City is a campaign for a completely free public transport network, similar to those in place in lots of other towns and cities across the world. So Tallinn in Estonia, Kansas City in the US, Dunkirk and Calais in France are all good examples. Gavin's going to post our manifesto in the chat if you want to take a look at it. But what we wanted to do with Free Our City was to bring those ideas from other parts of the world to Glasgow and to say, if they can do it, why can't we? So we held an online conference on the 19th of September. Some of you may have been there. And that was really well attended as well. It was fantastic. And we created a lot of media coverage around that. We had articles in the Herald, the Glasgow Times, Source, Equal Times, Scottish Left Review, and even the council passed a motion in October acknowledging the campaign. So several of our committee members continue to sit on the Free Our City committee as well, which meets every 2 weeks as well. Another little shot from the conference. And this campaign was really important for us because it enabled us to kind of link together our other demands for re-regulation and greater public ownership of the bus network with this demand for public transport to be free. So it's going to be almost completely impossible to deliver free public transport without public control over the public transport network, because it's such an inefficient use of public money, privatization, that we need to get it back into public control. We need to bring the costs down, and then we can think about rolling out free fares. So that's really what our route map to free public transport looks like. And that's what we're going to continue to campaign for this year. Then the other main planks of our campaigning around the local transport strategy. So a lot of you will know about this and will have taken part as well, but the deadline for the council's consultation on the local transport strategy was the end of October. So we did a lot of work to mobilise people to respond to the consultation. And Gavin's going to post our response to the consultation in the chat. And then linked into this consultation is the council's other consultation on the climate emergency implementation plan, which does talk quite a bit about transport as well. So we wrote a very scathing response to this, to the draft implementation plan, which Gavin will post in the chat for you as well. And alongside this kind of engagement in the council's consultations, we've also been keeping the pressure up with regular freedom of information requests. We're having to do those all the time to try and get the minutes for this Glasgow Bus Partnership out of them, because it's completely opaque and they're not being published online like most other council minutes are. We've been emailing a lot, obviously, and lobbying at 3 different levels. So we're lobbying at national level. We're focusing on Michael Matheson and Transport Scotland. We're lobbying at regional level with SPT in the Glasgow City Region Cabinet, and then we're lobbying with at a local level, Glasgow City Council. And we've had regular meetings with SPT and council officers. We've got quite good relationships with them in terms that they do agree to meet us fairly regularly. Specifically Deborah Payton, who is in charge of the local transport strategy at Glasgow City Council, and Amanda Horn and Bruce Kelo, who are doing the regional transport strategy at SPT. And on the 15th of January this year, we finally got a meeting with the new independent chair of the Glasgow Bus Partnership, Joan Aitken, which was interesting. And basically the fight goes on with we're trying to work out what's happening with this partnership, because having so many different levels and not having clear accountability in terms of who's in charge of what, they just blame each other. And they just continue to blame each other. So yeah, it'd be interesting. If anybody's got any great ideas that they would like to feedback, then that would be fantastic as well. But I'm going to finish up with a bit of fun. And this is the bike bus, which was made by Susan and Bob, who hopefully is on the call. And I'll just I'll mute myself and play the video. Brilliant. I'm sorry if you couldn't hear the sound. I might have forgotten to share the sound, but maybe Bob could put the link to the video in the chat as well, in case you want to watch it again. And yeah, we were planning to take the bus out onto the streets. That was completed sort of a month before Christmas, but obviously COVID lockdowns have prevented us from really making the most of this, but we're hoping to get the bus out on the streets in 2021.
Thanks so much, Ellie. That was really great. So let's have a look. Did anyone pick out any questions? Or if you'd like to start putting questions in the chat. Well, Robert asked about whether the Transport Minister, Michael Matheson, and those who are advising him, of whether those people could be targeted. But I don't know how we could do that. Does anyone have any ideas?
Well, we are targeting them because Michael Matheson is in charge of the of Transport Scotland, and there's lots of civil servants in Transport Scotland who we're in touch with. What's happening at the moment actually is, although the Transport Act became an act in 2019, the powers still aren't actually available to use because they haven't done all the secondary regulation. And there's going to be a consultation process on those regulations actually unfolding in March. So we're in touch with a few people in the Transport Scotland who are working on that, and we're hoping to be involved in that process, because we need to make sure that these powers for franchising, which is re-regulating the buses, and for setting up publicly owned bus companies, are workable, that that they can actually be used, because there was a power that was available before called a quality contract, which was kind of like re-regulating the buses, but no authority ever used it because they didn't consider it to be workable. So everything's in flux at the moment, as I said in my report.
Ellie, can I just add something there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were saying that we were targeting the civil servants, Michael Bass and Zeds, the background kind of crew, so to speak. I was wondering if Robert asked about the academics as well. I would think it would probably be possible to target the academics as well, because most universities have a list of staff, like they're different departments, they have a list of staff. So it might be, I think it would be possible to identify which staff from which universities, from which departments, from which they're responsible for, would be the ones that would be most likely to be involved with like the transport plan and advising the government, I suppose. Would that be a good thing to look at as well?
Definitely. If if anybody's got any ideas about who to target, I don't,
It'd be a bit of
in terms of
research.
academics.
It would probably need a wee bit of research. It would probably need somebody to look at a wee bit of research on it and that as well to find that out right enough.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was meaning. It was, who are those specific people that we could, approach. Okay, and then Mike just put in a question to us. What do we think about building a free riders group as in South Yorkshire? Although obviously at the moment it could be difficult with COVID, but if a group was formed, we could maybe discuss possibilities later.
Definitely. Yeah. I think it wasn't last year, I think it was the year before, 2019, First put their fares up 3 times in 1 year. So, I mean, if they try anything like that again, I think that would be the perfect opportunity, even if it's just a one-off stunt where you all go and get on a bus. That I think it would be worth doing once we can all go and get on the bus together.
Yeah, stopping traffic in the streets of Glasgow behind Bob's bus.
Well, it is free. Bob's bus is free.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Well, if we've got no more questions, I mean, please do feel free to keep on putting some in the chat. But if we're just going to move on now, so we're going to hear from our treasurer, Susan Galloway. Over to you, Susan. Thank you.
Thanks, David. I've got 2 reports. One is the financial report and the second one is the membership report. So I'm just going to speak to the accounts first of all, if you want to put the slide up. So you'll see that Ellie mentioned that in 2019 we were successful in getting a grant of £30,000 from the Foundation for Integrated Transport. And that allowed us to create a website and also employ a campaign worker for 12 months. So by the end of 2019, we had £16,824 of that unspent, and that was carried forward to the beginning of 2020. So we started the year with an incredibly healthy balance. Our total income in 2020 was just over £1,700, and the majority of that was membership income through Go Cardless, which allows people to join and set up regular payments on the website. We also had £155 in donations and £150 in affiliation fees. So the main message on the income side is just how much our membership has grown in the last year. I mean, our membership income grew from £28 in 2019 to well over, nearly £1,500 last year. So a huge positive growth. On the expenditure side, the salary for our campaign worker was the largest item. Becky left us at the end of April 2020, so that covers just the first 4 months of the year. Besides that, we spent small amounts on Facebook advertising and promoting our events online. We've continued to review just how effective that is, and have decided it is worth the money, but keeping it to an absolute minimum. The second instalment of the payment for our website development was just over £1,000, and that sum also includes the cost of the domain name. And then the other bigger item last year was just the costs of campaign materials, design and prints, including launching the Free Our City campaign. That was a lot less than last year, which was about £900 or so, just because we actually weren't physically able to do anything last year because of the lockdown. So our closing balance was just over £10,000. So we're in a really healthy financial position. And that largely reflects the fact that we now have a regular flow of income every month from our membership, which is at about £135 a month. I mean, we have to hope that that is sustainable, because people can cancel that, obviously. But we've demonstrated, I think, in the last year that there is a pool of people out there who are committed enough to public transport campaign and to want to back it with a regular monthly contribution. And that's something that we want to grow in 2021 so that we can be self-supporting as a campaign. So that's all there is to say really about the statement. I don't know if anyone has got any questions at this point. If not, I will carry on and talk about the membership. I can see there's one from Robert.
We just had one question come through, sorry Susan. Do we get Glasgow Moving have a spend budget for 2021 matched against targeted campaign? I don't think we've managed to get that far yet because we haven't got our new committee okayed, have we?
We will be sitting, looking at the budget and agreeing that. But yeah, the committee has got to meet, or the new committee has got to meet in the next couple of weeks and just decide what our campaigning plan and priorities are and how we want to use the money to best effect.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Right, so I'll move on to the membership report then. So obviously we've had quite a big growth in membership in the last year. It's currently the biggest it's been since the campaign was founded. We had 46 members when we had our AGM last year, many of whom actually joined on the day of the AGM. We've now got 120 members. In fact, I think it's gone up tonight. I can see that quite a number of people have applied to join while our at the end of the last meeting. So, and about half of those members pay monthly direct debits. And the membership was really boosted really from when our new website went live, because that gives the facility for people to join and set up direct debits online. And the social media launch that our campaign worker organised in March when we launched the website resulted in 46 new members, basically in 1 week. We doubled our membership in a month just by having the website going live, and it has continued to build since then. The majority of members are Glasgow residents, but we do also have about a dozen or so members who live in neighbouring authorities. So we've got people in Renfrewshire, East Renfrewshire, West Dunbartonshire, East Dunbartonshire. And that's good because, I mean, we are a regional campaign and that's something which we should be looking to grow. Within Glasgow, I think our membership is pretty concentrated in two main areas, and I don't think it'll be a surprise to anyone where those are. So we're talking about Glasgow West End and Glasgow South Side, so Pollokshields, Shawlands, Mount Florida. Although we do have members in Govan and we do have members in the East End, very few, and some in the north. We have got members in Maryhill as well. But expanding membership sort of out with more kind of regional membership should be something that we'd be looking at. And I think our goal now that we have so many more members is really to increase participation and involvement in the campaigning side. I think we've got a fantastic description by Fran earlier about what you can do, how you can actually mobilise people when you get out there. I mean, her photos of speaking to folk coming off their shifts at bus stops and speaking to them and getting people engaged is a really good example. We do regularly contact members with requests for their help. You know, we've been responding to consultations during the year. We always contact you and ask people if they will get involved, write to their counsellors, respond. And that is really important. We really do depend on people taking those individual actions as well, because it does demonstrate to elected members that there is a body of people that we do have support and we have got a base. We are keen, as I've said, to develop local groups in the neighbouring council areas like Renfrewshire, who have their own very particular transport issues. It's important because, as Ellie has said, the bus partnership, which has been set up, is for the Glasgow City region. So it's not just Glasgow, it's for the 8 local authorities in the region. And they're taking a regional approach, and we need to have a regional approach to campaigning as well. And the bus partnership is open to all of those eight local authorities. It's not just covering Glasgow. We also do really need to take the campaign out into local communities as soon as we get these restrictions lifted. And the bus that Bob and I built last autumn was really because we want to use it as a campaigning tool to get out there. It's on wheels, and we've got a motor on it now. I think it's working, so we can take the bus out to different neighbourhoods and speak to folk. Attracts a lot of attention. It was attracting a lot of attention, especially from kids when we were building it. So I think it will be really effective, and we need people to really be willing to come out on a Saturday and get involved in that kind of work. I've actually got some questions for you, our members, which might go out as a member survey, but you could maybe post your ideas in the chat here. I know we've got limited time, but some of the things that I think we want to know from the membership are whether you feel that we keep you informed enough, whether you want more regular updates, whether you'd like us to hold regular members meetings. We had one in May that Ellie talked about, but we haven't followed that up, so it's something that we could maybe do 3 or 4 times a year. We've started using a platform called Slack, which I think Ellie was going to show a slide for, just as a way of sharing information and allowing people to have a chat, share links, share public transport news, and allow members to be a bit more involved with what the committee's doing. There is a number of members on it, but I mean, certainly not everybody's on it, and I think outside the committee probably a lot of people don't use it. So is that useful, and would people like a training session in it? And the other couple of things I think really questions for you is, are you willing to come out and do some public campaigning when we're able to do so again with the bus? Get talking to people. We could post your names in the chat just now if that's something you'd be interested in doing with a group of folk. And finally, if you do live in a neighbouring authority rather than in Glasgow itself, would you be interested in forming a local campaign group with other members? We'd like to hear from you if that's the case. So I'd be very interested in your views and suggestions on all of these issues. Again, you can use the chat function, or if anybody wants to give us some feedback now, that would be fantastic.
That's great. Thanks, Susan. It's great to see we're in such a healthy position in both our finances and growing membership, also growing tonight, which is fantastic. So yeah, all of a sudden the chat started going crazy. So it's not so easy to catch up with questions. See if there are any. But it's good it went crazy. Someone mentioned or was asking about the run up to COP, and that would be a good time. And I wanted to reply with who we were already in contact with in terms of the big COP group. But did you want to mention something about that, Ellie?
Sorry, I was just typing a message in.
No worries. Someone was asking about, this sounds great for the run up to COP, and in terms of what are we doing, but we were already in contact with the big COP group, but I wondered if you might want to give people a bit more information about that.
Yeah, I mean, the Free Our City campaign was kind of launched to take advantage of like the global spotlight on Glasgow in the run up to COP, and the stark reality of about how bad the public transport is compared to so many other cities around the world. So we're going to be continuing that campaign, and actually at the end of this meeting I'm going to share a link to the next event for Free Our City, which we wanted to invite all of our Get Glasgow Moving members to come to, which is called Putting Free Buses Back on the Agenda. I don't know if you can paste that in, Gavin, while I'm talking about it. That would be great. But yeah, the other thing we're going to be talking about at the end of the meeting is our campaign strategy day for 2021. So all of the new committee members are going to be getting together very soon to have a long session kind of planning out what our priorities will be for 2021, and COP will definitely be on the horizon for that.
Great, thank you. Well, I am conscious of time. I also know that we were wanting to introduce ourselves briefly as well for those of us who have applied to remain or join the committee. So I guess I will head that up. So at the moment, I'm David Cody, and I've been on the committee for a year already. I'm a policy officer for the Scottish Government and just recently completed a Masters of Law from Strathclyde University. And I joined because I understand how important transport is with dealing with the impending environmental crisis and crises we face. And I wanted to improve the mess that we have and are currently dealing with. So, Ellie, do you want to go next? Oh, you're on mute.
I'm on mute. You've already heard me introduce myself anyway. So I was involved in setting up Get Glasgow Moving in 2016, and I've been on the committee for the last 2 years, and I'm looking forward to giving another year of my time.
That's great, thank you. Susan?
I'm Susan Galloway. I got involved after just having had enough of First Bus and deciding to do something about it. I've been involved for a couple of years and on the committee for the last year as the Treasurer and Membership Secretary. I'd like to continue.
Great, thank you. Gavin?
Hi, I'm Gavin. I've been involved with Get Glasgow Moving for years and years, and and I work on the environment. That's my day job, and for me, the two biggest global and local crises are climate change and inequality, and quality public transport addresses them both, reducing emissions and inequality.
That's great, thank you. Brenda?
Hi everybody, I'm Brenda Mackay. I've always lived in Glasgow. I'm retired now, and one of the most shocking things to me is how much worse the public transport system is in Glasgow than when I was a child in the late 50s and 60s. I think it's a real issue around poverty and social justice, and now also pollution too. And I think everybody in Glasgow deserves a better transport system. And I'd like to help get Glasgow moving with that subject, yeah.
Great, yeah, thanks, Brenda. Callum?
Hi, I'm Callum. I've been on the committee for the past couple of years. I'd really echo what a lot of other people have said about it's an issue of climate, it's an issue of social justice. That's the kind of things that motivate me. I've spent the last year doing a degree in transport planning and engineering masters, which I've just graduated in. So I feel if I continue in the committee, I can bring a lot of experience from that, from the political and technical things I've learned about on the course. Thanks.
That's great, thank you. And Neil? Neil? Oh, you're on mute. Oh, there you go.
Hi, I'm Neil. I've been involved in Get Glasgow Moving since the start. I've been on the committee since 2018, I think, right enough. Like to stay involved, man. But I've been looking forward to after the coronavirus crisis open and getting back more into my more artistic and creative involvement with the campaign and all the other campaign groups. And then, cheers, thanks.
Thanks, Neil. And then, yeah, we have 2 new members who are joining us. Hopefully I'm not throwing them in the deep end, but if you would like to introduce yourself quickly. Jill?
And Miles. Don't forget Miles.
Oh, sorry, Miles.
Hello.
Hi, Miles, sorry.
It's been a long meeting, no worries. Yeah, I'm Miles. I'm at University of Glasgow. Students really get shafted with having to rely on cars in Glasgow where we don't want to. And yeah, it's critical. It's really bad here. So we got to fix it, but we're working on it, and I'm excited to be part of that.
That's great, thanks. Sorry, I could never forget you, sorry. Okay, great. And then moving on to our new members, I would like to give a warm welcome to Jill and Flick. And Jill, would you like to go first? Is Jill with us? Oh, Jill. Oh, Miles, we need you to unmute. Oh, there we go.
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
I've done it.
So, hi, I'm Jill. I'm currently working as an admin assistant in the family business, but I just also recently completed a master's in environmental and climate change law from the University of Edinburgh. So I'm currently applying for grad schemes starting in September. I kind of found out about this committee. I actually met Rebecca at a meeting last year, and I was really interested to hear what the work she was doing. And yeah, when I found out that you guys were looking for new committee members, I thought, yeah, this is something that I want to get involved in.
Great, thank you. I think from that as well, it sounds like we've got a lot to talk about as well. So yeah, I look forward to meeting you properly. And I find Flip as well, so I can.
No,
you've got capacity. Okay, great. Off you go, Flick. Thank you.
Hi, folks. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Flick. I'm just new. I've actually just moved to Glasgow in November there. So I'm new. Before that, I was in Edinburgh and also the States. I actually work on environment and climate change for my job at Friends of the Earth Scotland. I'm doing COP26 stuff specifically. I have also just finished a master's in environmental science and sustainability, where I wrote a thesis on like community energy and public ownership of energy. So I'm really passionate about big, bold, ambitious ideas to help solve the climate crisis and our economic and social crisis as well. So thanks for having me. I'm really delighted to join you all.
No, it's great. Thank you so much. Yeah, sounds like a formidable team that we've got. I would also like to say as well goodbye and thank you too as well to previous members who've been with us and have not moved on with us, but may also maybe help in some capacity in the future. So we'd just like to say thank you to Dylan Beck, Mike Picken, who's on the call today, Colette Walker and Jim Snell. So yeah, I am conscious of time. We do need to move on. So if I'll just pass on to Ellie.
Hey, so we are going to vote to approve. We're going to do 3 votes. And I think you should have received a warning about this in the email from Susan. So we're going to be voting first to approve the report of campaign activities. Secondly, these will be 3 separate votes. Secondly, to approve the accounts. And then third, to approve the 2021 Management Committee. So to do this, we're going to use, I hope you can see this, on Zoom, there's a little function, it's a little yes tick, which we want you to use to vote. Don't vote now, but if you can locate this, there's 2 possible places where it could be. So in older versions of Zoom, it's on the right hand side in the participants bar. It's at the bottom of that, and you'll see a little green tick. So you may have it there on your computer. This is if you're on a laptop. If you're on a phone, I'm not entirely sure where it will be. I know that on newer versions of Zoom, they've moved this little green tick to the bottom, and you've got a little bar, a little button called reactions. And if you click on that, then you'll see the little green tick. So I'm hoping everybody has located that. I can't actually see the chat while I'm sharing my screen, but I hope.
Don't worry, I've got it.
Okay, good. I'm going to move on back to the vote. So, yeah, you can, chairperson, you can call out the votes when you're ready.
Yeah, so this is for vote 1 for our campaign activities. You can either vote yes or no. Give you a few seconds to do that. Okay, John, you can't find it. If you just want to say, yeah, if you can't find it, just put yes or no in the chat, and then I can work it out from there. We've got 15 that I can see, and then there's 2 more, 3 more who have approved, which is the simple majority that we need. So that one's been approved. Thank you, everyone. Just going to clear that now. So yeah, same again, but less time for vote number 2 with Susan's accounts that we've gone through. We just need you to vote for agreeing those accounts. Okay, so I'm seeing 14 and a couple of people. Well, Paul was very efficient. It said yes to all. Thanks, Paul. So yeah, that's fine. That's been approved. That was a simple majority there. So then, yeah, and then for the people that have just introduced themselves to you as the new committee, for approving them for the new management committee, if you just go ahead and vote now. Okay. Yeah, we've got a simple majority there as well. That's great. Thank you, everybody. Much appreciated. Thanks for bearing with us. So yeah, so we're almost out of time, but we need to go quickly on to the dates of the next meetings. So thanks for all your votes, and I'll just hand over to Ellie again.
Thanks, David. So yeah, just to reiterate what I already mentioned, there's a key date for new committee members to put in your diaries, which will be our strategy day, and that is Saturday the 13th of March, 12 till 2. So I hope all committee members will be available on that day, and we're going to really think about the forthcoming year and what we want to focus on. And the date for all members' diaries that I mentioned is Free Our City's next event, putting free buses back on the agenda, which is really focusing on the climate emergency implementation plan, the council's climate emergency implementation plan, which did have the ambition to have free public transport in it, which seems to have been removed. So we're holding this event to get it back on the agenda, basically. And it's going to be structured as a public hearing or a sort of town hall meeting, where we'll have a panel of councillors hopefully one from each party represented, and then members of the public will be able to ask questions to the councillors. That's the structure. So we'll be doing a call out for questions as well. So you can obviously get involved in asking a question at that meeting as well. So hopefully Gavin's put the link to that in the chat. Sign up now if you fancy coming along.
Okay. Well, I think that's everything. Thanks so much for bearing with us for our first virtual AGM. It's been great having you here. I know we overrun by a few minutes, which is actually quite good. But yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, just thank you so much for all of your support and your continued support. And we look forward to hearing from you and yeah, joining us for the activities over the next year. Okay, everybody, have a good evening. Take care.